Hey, greetings there, City of Heroes lovers. Welcome back to the 2020 Rewind. We're taking a look at my first Dominator of this little mini series where I'm looking at 20 different level 50 character builds that I have on the City of Heroes Homecoming servers, Excelsior Shard. This is my first Dominator, number 11 total, Bewitcher. She is my magician extraordinaire. She's a bit of a seductress. She's a bit of a beguiling lady. She's going to be using mind control. She's going to be using Thorn Assault and Mace Mastery, kind of like her magic wand, if you will. I don't know if anybody I've ever seen has this combination. I used to play Mind Thorn back on live as a PvP build, believe it or not. And that's because Thorny Assault was the only Dominator set back then that had aim, had a way to boost your to hit. And if you've ever played PvP, you know everybody in PvP is packing so much defense that you just can't hit them. So you need somebody to boost to hit. Thorn was the way to go. And then Mind Control was awesome because it had psi damage and psi attacks and sleep and fears, which many of the armor sets of those pesky scrappers and stuff, they had giant gaping holes to psionics. So you could sit there and throw a sleep or a fear or whatever, or TK people. People always hated the repel of TK. There was no like repel resistance, I don't think, back in the day. So anyway, that was kind of the origins of at least the combo. But when Homecoming came out, I wanted to kind of remake that combo. It's kind of a weird combo if you think about it, Mind and Thorns, whatever, especially in the concept that I have here. But this is her. This is what I'm going for. So let's take a look at the mids build and we'll discuss the thoughts behind the powers and stuff. First and foremost, she is a perma dominator. She is going for a bunch of recharge so that she can make domination permanent. Now, domination, if you don't know, is the inherent power set of dominators, the archetype. And the basics is this: you attack and you build domination. Your domination bar fills up. Once it gets to 90% or greater, it is clickable. When you click it, your world changes. Okay, you get a boost of a big old shot of endurance. You refill your blue bar. The magnitude of your controls increases about 50% longer, and you pretty much throw like a double mag hold out there, so you're able to one shot hold and control bosses easy peasy. You can two shot control elite bosses. You can just lock down huge groups of enemies with just burst control. It also gives you a damage boost on top of all that. So it's a really strong, clickable. It's the best inherent in the game, bar none. Okay, nobody else's inherent is even close to what Dominator's inherent is. And that's why you want it to be on all the time. The problem with it is out of the box, it's on a 200-second recharge. So that takes a while to get, ready to go again. And it lasts about 90 seconds. So you had this 110-second hole when you didn't have domination, and you were just a, controller without the buffs at that point. You have some blast, you got some melee stuff, so you're kind of sort of a blaster, you're kind of sort of a scrapper, you're kind of sort of a controller. But really your world changes when domination's active because you can out control controllers no problem. You can start damaging like a beast with your ranged and melee attacks and kind of go toe to toe as far as damage output with some of those more, traditional damaging sets. So it's really a wonderful power. So in order to get it to be up more often is you need to get a bunch of recharge. And specifically, you need at least 140% global recharge on your character in order to make this thing permanent or permadom. And that's why you're looking here. My recharge is 80.8 seconds. So in other words, it's going to recharge faster than it's going to expire because it's on a 90-second duration. It's going to recharge before the duration ends. Therefore, it will fire again because I have mine on auto fire. So I control click domination and it just fires as soon as I charge. And it's going to keep recharging and keep firing over and over again until I die. And then I have to start the process all over again, which is usually pretty quick on a team because your domination bar fills even faster when you have teammates. So boom, this is what you want. You want this power recharged. Now, your challenge, of course, is well, how do you get all this recharge? You've got plenty of options in the game these days. One of the easiest ways to get 140 recharge. I've got 147.5, but the easiest thing is to take Hasten. Hasten gives you 70% recharge, and I believe it's also on a 90-second duration, give or take. I forget the exact timing on it. But anyway, I don't have Hasten on this build. I have just raw 147.5 recharge from set bonuses. That's the other way to do this. You can do the Hasten based perma domination. With that, it's easier to do it because you need another 70 from your set bonuses plus the 70 from Hasten. So that's easily doable by anybody out there. You just got to remember to click hasten, and if you forget to click hasten, then it can screw you because you miss your domination, especially if you're really close. If you got recharge of 141 or something, or with hasten, any little thing that you forget to click hasten on time or whatever, you can end up crashing your domination, which is always a bad, sad time. So I've gone for just pure, unadulterated domination. I don't have hasten at all. I have enough recharge that I don't even, I don't think about it, right? Domination's on auto fire for me and it just goes. I don't care about anything else. Attack, control, that's all I'm doing. I don't have to sit there and watch, is hasten going to crash soon? And when a hasten crashes, right, you have the blue bar has a bit of a crash too. So anyway, this is just pure, true permadom 140 is what you're shooting for. And of course, this is going to require you to do some heavy slotting of a bunch of plus recharge from different sets. So let's take a look at the sets that I've gone for. And by the way, pretty much every Dominator I build now, I'm always going for Permadom, although I have like one, maybe two Dominators where I didn't do it, and it was on purpose. I just kind of wanted to see, without it, do I really need it? You don't really need it. I mean, you can be very effective without it, but trust me, it's night and day. So I always go for Permadom. It's just a matter of what kind. Do I want the Hasten version? It's easy. If I want the non-Hasten pure version, it's more expensive. It's going to cost you, 500 million, 750 million. You could really, depending on what sets you're taking, you could go up towards a billion, depending on how many purple sets you throw in here. All right, taking a look at my sets, you'll see that I do have some purple sets. I've got one sitting here in Mass Hypnosis, Fortunatus Hypnosis. I've got one in Fling Thorns, the Ragnarok set. I've got another one here in Mass Confusion, Coercive Persuasion, and I've got a fourth one sitting here in Poisonous Ray and the Apocalypse. Those four sets, those purple sets, each one of them, they're pretty much the same bonuses. At 5 slots, you get 10% recharge. So those four right there is giving me 40% recharge, right? I'm already, about a third of the way to my goal. Then the other way to get some recharge is ATOs, specifically the Dominator, was it Ascendancy of the Dominator? If you 5 slot this, you get another 10%. So I've got that sitting here in Terrify. That's going to give me another 10% with those 5. So now I've got 50% bonuses. The other easy way to get a lot of recharge pretty quickly and relatively inexpensively are Luck of the Gamblers. These aren't the Luck of the Gamblers back on live when they were going for like 100 million or 30 million or some crazy amount of dollars. Influence that is. These things you get about 8 million, I think, off the market these days, but they give you 7.5% a pop. And this 7.5% does not conflict with the 7.5% from other set bonuses. This is like its own unique 7.5%. Because one thing you got to remember is that you can only stack 5 of a kind of any specific bonus if it's the same type of bonus. So those 10% bonuses from the purple and the ATO, I have 5 of them, that's it. I can't do any more 10% bonuses. Doesn't matter how many other purple sets I have, I've hit the cap of bonuses. But Luck of the Gamblers, they're their own unique 7.5, so I've got 4 of those: combat, jumping, stealth, scorpion, shield, and maneuvers. So that's another little thing you're going to want to know. Besides having to get a high recharge, you're going to want to find powers that have defense bonuses in it. And for Dominators, that's not super easy in the sense that, you don't have a buff set that you can get, or a bunch of armor sets like, melees and, defenders, corruptors, that kind of thing, where you can, pick force fields and, slot a bunch of Luck of the Gamblers. You need to kind of go out of your way in order to get defense stuff. So combat, jumping, stealth, maneuvers. I have to go with, one of 2 different, not prestige, what do you call those? The ancillary power pools. So I have Mace Mastery. The other one I think is Ice. Ice Mastery has a shield with defense in it. Other than that, I think all the other Dominator shields have resistance only. So that's how you're gonna get, 7.5 sitting here. I got that times four, so that's another 30%. So at this point, I'm at 80%, I think. Recharge, right? I only need 60 more to be, you know, raw permadom. Right now, if I just took hasten, I would have the rest of it. But I didn't take hasten. I needed to get another 60 elsewhere. So where else can you do it? Well, start looking around. There's a lot of rare sets, for instance, that have it. Here's Decimation. Decimation 5 slotting is 6.25. I've got that once. In Mesmerize, I've got it in Levitate. I've got it sitting down here in Impale. So there's three of those. What's it? 18.75. So I got that three places. I've got another 6.25 sitting here in Expedient Reinforcement. So I got a fourth one of those with just four slotting. Who else has 6.25? Does it up here? No. Oh, Arcane Bolt. I took Kinetic Crash up here, six slotting. That's 7.5. Then you got four slotting Basilisks in Total Domination as well as Dominate. Each of those is 7.5. Now here's the example of where this 7.5 would stack with that 7.5, would stack with that 7.5. But those 7.5s do not stack with the Luck of the Gambler 7.5s because the Luck of the Gambler 7.5 is a specifically different, unique 7.5 boost. So they're not the same thing. So that's why you can stack more than five. And then I got another 7.5 sitting over here in the Sudden Acceleration, six slotting that. Also gives a bunch of recharge. So anyway, I got tons of recharge. I think the last place I also have, oh yeah, Doctored Wounds sitting down here in Spirit Ward is another 5%. So I've got, 80, 90% of my powers have recharge boosting in it. And I didn't have to, this is the cool thing, is I don't really have to sacrifice too much in order to get a bunch of recharge. Unlike defense, like if you want to try to get a big high defense build, you usually have to sacrifice something to get it because most of the extra defense is sitting in that fifth, sixth slot of a set. So you really got to like go all in on it. I didn't have to do that, right? I can sit here and do four slotting like my two controls here, my two holds. I can do single Luck of the Gamblers and some of these powers around here. So I didn't have to go all in six slotting on 7 or 8 powers, and then that's all I could do. So I was able to spread the love around. I've got, damage slotted where I want damage. I got control slotted where I want control. I got defense slotted where I want defense. So I didn't have to, cut any corners. And with all that, I'm able to sit here and rack up that 147.5%. The other thing, I didn't have to trade off was take, my recovery and my end drain is really solid. I've got, the 3-3 recovery. The end drain's only 0.85. So even though this is one thing you gotta watch out for in high recharge builds is you're going to be shooting a lot because you got so much recharge. Therefore, you're going to be burning through endurance. So even though your end drain looks, hey, it's only 0.85, that's just toggles. If you actually start clicking all your powers over and over and over again, one after the other, remember your powers take energy. So if you're just fire, 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 because you're on a super high recharge, which you are as a Dominator with Permadom, this 0.85 is probably twice that, so it's more like 1.7ish. But I'm up in here in the lower three, so that's pretty solid. And then don't forget Domination when it fires is going to refill my entire endurance bar. So I'm not going to run out of endurance in most scenarios. Okay, so just keep that in mind though if you're going for high recharge. Other than that, I mean the build is designed to have a ton of ranged options. I don't think I have any melee options whatsoever. That's one kind of opposite what I usually do with the Dominator. Usually with Dominators, I like going in melee. I don't have a problem going with melee. But Mind Control is so range oriented. All of its powers are ranged. There's no like, PBAOE or whatever melee type of control. It's all range controls. Everything is just downrange. You've got great, you need great line of sight, which is why I took Mystic Flight, Sorcery Pool. So I'm going to fly up. I'm going to be able to see my enemies, and I'm going to perform surgery because I got so many tools here. You got a single target sleep, you got a knock up, you got a hold, you got a confuse, you got an AoE sleep. I didn't take TK. You've got an AoE hold, you've got a cone fear, you've got an AoE confuse power. So I've got like 5 different control options depending on what my target is, doing or who it is. And then I've got Thorny Assault is pretty solid from a range. It's not the greatest range set, so it's probably again sort of a weird combination, but it does have build up now, so you can get the extra damage out of it. It does have some toxic, DOT on top of everything else. It has some minus, I think, minus defense in it, which is nice. Impale's a little soft control. It's got some immobilize, some minus fly. And Thorn Barrage has some, I think it has a knockback to it, which is pretty cool. So anyway, you got, some more ranged options. So I really don't even need an assault set really with mind control. Anybody's played a mind controller knows, right? You got lots of attacks in here. All this stuff pretty much does damage, with the exception of like mass hypnosis and total domination, mass confusion. But mesmerize damage, levitate damage, dominate damage, confuse damage by proxy. Mass hypnosis is sleep. Total domination, that's just controlling everything. Terrify, that's damage. Mass confusion, that's again lots of damage by proxy. Then I've got Thorny Darts ranged, Fling Thorns range, Impale range, Thorn Barrage range. The big thing that I wish I had more of is some AoE damage, because I've got the Cone Attack and Terrify, and I've got Fling Thorns, but that's it. And Fling Thorns range is trash. It is 30 feet, right? So range is 30 feet, where, terrifies your other big attack cone. It's got 60-foot range. So that's twice as much. That's sort of the downside here. I'm not going to use Fling Thorns as much as I should, which, it's kind of a shame because I do have a knockdown Ragnarok in there, which would be a nice little light control. But for the most part, I'm going to be just back above, my team, looking down at the main fight where the melee dudes are going at it, and just picking targets, confuse you, sleep you, hold you, throw you up in the air, terrify the whole group, sleep the whole group, whatever. I'm going to bang, 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 picking things apart. Oh, something's running, throw Impale at it. Something gets close to my face, maybe I fling Thorns at it. I do have some other attacks though. This is why I went with Mace Mastery. Aside from the defense, is if you take a look at your options here. Let me roll this down a little bit and scoot this up. Get back over here. Move mids up. I do have Disruptor Blast and Poisonous Ray on this one. So Poisonous Ray, it's a single target attack. Again, another one. It's got some minus resistance, some minus defense on it. It does solid damage the way I've got it slotted. Let me pop that up. Scoot this way for you. You can see it's going to do 211. It has minus 15% defense, minus 18.75% resistance. Range is 80 feet, so that's strong. Disruptor Blast, that's your other little pew pew. Big old AoE explosion. 80-foot range. Radius is a 15-foot blast. The damage isn't that great, right? It's only 97. I don't have it super high slotted for damage though, but it does have some knockback, so you can get some more control out of it. So for the most part, this character is really just a hyper control Dominator. And if you're going to go mind domination or mind control on a Dominator, I think that's what you're best off doing, in my opinion, is you're going to be a really strong control build. If you're kind of trying to look for more damagey stuff, I don't think mind is the way to go. It's more, like I said, more surgical, more precise, lots of range. I think you can do much more damage if you take just about any other set. You got a lot of attacks, don't get me wrong, but you don't, have a lot of AoE tons of damage out there. But it's a great set if you don't want to have to lean too heavily on your secondary. Like you can almost go with a very strong melee secondary. Let's say something like Earth Assault. That might be a good combo where you got lots of ranged attacks sitting here in your primary mind. You could then pair that up with a very strong, heavy hitting melee set like Earth. That might be a cool idea. Not sure what the theme would be, but I can see those two, peanut butter and jelly working together. All right, beyond all that, let's take a look at the totals. Then we'll take a look at my incarnate choices and see what's going on with that. So as you can see, because I'm based a lot on the luck of the gamblers trying to get the recharge, I went with a lot of defense. So I do have decent defense, smash, lethal energy, all in the 30s, negatives 20. Positionals aren't that great, upper teens. It's, you might get missed a couple of times, but you're not relying upon as a dominator, you're not relying upon a bunch of defense, a bunch of resistance. You're relying upon this active defense strategy. You are controlling things. You're going to hold them. You're going to sleep them. You're going to confuse them. You're going to knock them up, whatever, right? You're using your control powers to reduce the amount of incoming damage because everything is held or slowed or slept or feared or whatever you are that you're doing. So I'm not really worried about these numbers, and they're gonna get better because once I go ahead and fire up my control powers, you'll see that they get, or not my controls, my incarnates, things are gonna get a lot heavier or a lot better. Let's see what else we got. I think that was the main stuff here. Talk about the recharge. Let's scoot this down. Look at the incarnates. So for incarnates, I went with agility as my alpha for the obvious reason it has recharge in it. Even though it's not global recharge, it's going to help me recharge all my other stuff because you are relying upon a lot of AoE controls like mass confusion, total domination. So you want those powers coming back as quickly as you can. You've already got a lot of recharge, so this is going to make it even better. So if we take a look at, let's say, something like total domination, which is your big AoE control power. Let's see my total dom. Yeah, I got it highlighted there. So right now the normal recharge is 240, right? I've got it down to 77 seconds. The duration is about 29. So I still have a gap sitting here of 45 or whatever seconds. So that's still 77 seconds. That's like in every other spawn type of thing. But with agility core, I've got that down to 70 seconds. I just shaved off, like 10% or something like that, and down to 70 seconds. So there's about a 40-second gap here. It's still about every other spawn, but you know what? Now it's every other spawn reliably. Same thing, my other stuff. Mass confusion is your other big, important power here. The recharge with your alpha, 65 seconds. What's the duration on this thing? 93. So they're going to be confused theoretically longer than a recharge. So I can keep lathering mass confusion on enemies. I mean, my total domination hold is lightly slotted, but if I were able to find another rechargey type thing, I could get this thing down closer to that 60 some seconds like this thing down here. I just don't have the slots for it. But anyway, that's where agility is going to come in handy. Plus, agility is giving you endurance mods. That's going to improve that whole recovery issue, right? So now I'm up to 3.5 from 3.3 because I'm going to be firing lots of powers, like I said. And then you also get defense buffing, so that's going to bring up my defense numbers. So you can see I go from 30 something into the 40s now. So that's going to boost up my survivability a little bit. Maybe I get hit one less time, 2 times less, whatever, 2 fewer times. So that's a great, combo for all my other powers I'm working on here. For my interface, I'm leaning into the confuse thing. I've got, the 2 confuses, mass confusion, and I've got confuse. My confuse power itself, you'll see I've got the contagious confusion purple proc in there. So with this thing, when you throw it out there and you hit a target, there's a 25% chance, I think it is, for it to jump to a neighboring target, which is another mag 3. So the initial, control you're hitting somebody with confuses them and then has a chance to then jump to somebody nearby. So it's something like that combined with mass confusion. You've already got a lot of confusion. And then I took cognitive flawless interface, and that gives a chance to confuse as well as minor psionic damage. But the chance to confuse is what I was going for here. So the confusion, let's see if it shows me here. Cognitive interface. So it's a mag 2 confuse is what it can proc. That lasts for 4.3 seconds if I'm reading that right. So you add this mag 2 confuse from just your attacking. That's going to confuse, minions and stuff, but you throw that in combination with your mass confusion up here, with your single target confuse over here, plus you got your domination is boosting your confuse mag. So this is going to help you just confuse the crap out of stuff all over the place. The one, thing to remember is it requires a damaging attack to work. So if you're only just throwing out confuse or mass confusion, this is not going to proc. You need to be attacking with your thorny assault or like some of your single target stuff like Mesmerize, Levitate, Dominate, Terrify. But you're just trying to get some additional, mez out there as much as you can. Then we've also got Ageless for our Destiny, right? Boom, more recharge. So when that fires off, the recharge rate's going to increase. You're going to get an endurance boost. It's kind of like a little mini domination, right? You get the big old endurance boost out of it. You get even more recharge out of everything. So if we do this now, let's take a look at total domination with this. So with Ageless clicked, now my total domination is down to 58 seconds. So now you're looking at, hey, maybe this isn't, every single mob I'm firing that off. Mass Confusion is down to 55-second recharge. You're also going to get debuff resistance, which is going to be nice because one of the debuffs you don't want to get hit with is minus speed. Anything like psi damage coming in that is minus recharging you, that is your mortal enemy. So if you see any psi blasting targets, take them out because that's the people that can mess with you, like the Fortunatas or some, Arachnos type of enemies, those seers. Target them and eliminate them. Support core, that gives you some damage accuracy. Let's roll this down here. So I took support core embodiment. Take a look at what this does for your defenses. So when I click that, my defenses are now going to the 50s, right? 30s for positional. So now it's not so bad when I've got all the stuff starting to add together. So boom, now my defenses are respectable. I also get some extra damage. I'm getting some more accuracy. I'm getting more special, right? You know me and my special. I love that. So if you take a look at your durations of things like that mass confusion, let's go back to that power. Where is my mass? Here it is. Mass confusion, effects. Okay, you're confused for 66 seconds on this thing. Okay, boom. 66 seconds. So without it, 62 up to 66. So it's adding 4 seconds to it. That's better than no seconds added to it. So yeah, the special is going to boost all of your different controls. Then it's also the way I took the core side of things. So with the core, that's going to help your pets. And I know you go, pets? You don't have any pets as mind control. Well, yeah, I do. I took the Summon Tarantula from Mace Mastery, and I have the lore pets, the Phantoms. So this is going to help those pets, and I have enough recharge that this Summon Tarantula, I think, is just about perma. Let's see. Yeah. So check it out. The recharge on the Tarantula is down to 215. The duration's 240. So my Tarantula is perma. That's awesome, right? I have a permanent pet, and he's going to benefit from the support core, the damage, the accuracy, defense, because it is going to be, this boost is doubled in strength for pets, right? So this is going to help that Tarantula and my lore pets in turn with the double, accuracy, damage, whatever from support core. And then the last thing I got, of course, is Ionic. I don't necessarily, of course, but it kind of was more of just a magic-y thing is why I went with it. So I just went that way. The core does the extra damage. Plus it's one of the more damaging sets out there. Not sets, but the judgment sets out there. And then it's kind of one of the weaker things. This character's not over the top gonna deal damage. She's just over the top control is what she is. She's got a control for every scenario. So that's the big thing that she's gonna bring to the table. But this helps give some more damage, right? So I've got, the support core. It's gonna help my pets do more damage, with the phantoms out there. I don't know what's the recharge on these phantoms. Yeah, none of this is affected by your stuff, but your phantoms are 50 up, 50 down as far as recharge versus duration. So they're gonna be out there for 300 seconds. They're gonna be out there with your Tarantula, who's out there for 240 seconds. They're both getting the support core, and you got the Ionic throwing even more blasty damage out there. So anyway, as far as that goes, it all adds up at the end. Yes, this build is so good, the dogs are freaking fired up about it. Anyway, I think I covered everything that I wanted to cover with this whole mess. Mind, Thorns, Mace, over control to the max, weird type of damage, size, some toxic, lots of controls, lots of options, lots of range. check it out in the solo strategy, which I'm going to do next, against some council freaks, and then I'm going to go ahead and do some team stuff and showcase what she can do there. And we'll see how it does, if I have enough control or not. All right, we will catch you in the next video. Peace out.